Greetings once again, beloved multiversal soul familia. Yes, welcome back, beloveds. As promised, this session we are going to be going into a few decks to do a bit of storytelling. Ah, yes. But before we get started with that, I'm feeling led as the amber resin is burning. We are going to set it off to the side though, so that I don't inadvertently inhale it. And we, beloveds, are going to have a brief discussion about amber resin. It is a delightful, aromatic, intoxicating the senses, wonderful, rich scent. The divine fragrance has been considered a sacred temple powder, often referred to as nectar of the gods or ambrosia. Spiritually, amber is used for meditation, healing, purification, good luck, good fortune, love, emotional and spiritual balancing. That's where it really gets me right there. That's where I home in, like right there. That's where it says, look at me, come smell me, come just like engulf your entire dwelling with this fragrance with notes of musk and earth and honey. Like, yes, please. Look, I love a good spice cake, and the smell of a spice cake done right does not even hold a candle to this aromatic resin. Oh my goodness. Ah, just saying it, it's like I can feel it. I can feel it doing its work, amazingly enough. And it's no big secret, beloveds. Amber has been around for a long time, and we're not talking about the fossilized rock or, you know, um, tree sap, okay? This is something that is created with care, but also deep reverence at the same time. Not so much to worship of gods, but just like deep reverence to spirituality, love, purification, and balance. Everything else is just kind of a perk that we wouldn't necessarily notice in an experience unless there's some kind of like drama associated with it. And then we see the meditative healing aspects of it. And even more so, where it can offer that emotional and spiritual balance. Disclaimer alert, disclaimer alert. Not a doctor, not a diagnosis, not a prescription, not a prognosis. But, beloveds, if you could smell what I smell and feel what I can feel at this time, it is just, oh my gosh. It's such a warm, rich fragrance with notes of vanilla and a touch of spice, a hint of like a patchouli, like a sweet patchouli. Believe me, there's a difference between sweet patchouli and deep patchouli. Deep patchouli, it kind of reminds me of a cross between like cherry tobacco and musk, but like earthy musk. And the sweet patchouli is where you get those hints of fragrance and aroma that resembles the vanilla and the honey. Give me just one moment, beloveds. I need to get up and close my studio door. I will be right back in a flash. All right, and here we go. Back to the amber resin. It's actually a composite of many resins and herbs created primarily in India by one of several master formulators, and each have their own secret recipe handed down through generations, and it is guarded as a family trade secret. I'm telling you, this resin is sacred, beloveds. Sacred. I'm not saying it's time to start worshiping amber resin. That's not what I mean at all. However, we can show and have appreciation for its many uses, every single one of them beneficial. This crystalline fragrance is made from a combination of many resinoids and oleoresins or plant secretions: myrrh, gum frankincense, gum styrax, benzoin, sal tree, labdanum, and other aromatic compounds. They're sourced from tropical subforests of India and Africa. Crushed, mixed, carefully heated and cooled to form that crystalline amber. It can be used as a perfume and incense, and when used in an oil warmer, it can just release the aromatics all throughout your living space. And the best way I have found to burn it is with these charcoal tablets that you can find in all sorts of places. I get mine off of Amazon and always look for the best deals. Yes, I am a bargain Beatrice over here. Yes, ma'am. Yes, sir. So it can be used as potpourri, incense, fragrance. You can also use it to purify and bless pendants and charms. There are just so many different uses for amber resins, and it by far is most likely my most favorite aromatic fragrance ever in existence. And I feel drawn to this even like on a core soul level. That is just subjective to me. But I just thought that I would take a little bit of time to share about it, because this is just one of those things that, even though it's common and well known, some of you may still be unaware. And if you happen to catch this video and listen in this far, then you, beloveds, have a not so best kept secret, but yet a lovely reminder of the many different resources, tools, materials, and modalities we have access to at any time. All right, we are, my goodness, already going on 10 minutes and 9:09 on the timer. That is a mirroring number. So let's take a look at what we are being guided to look into at this time, pertaining to 9:09, symbolizing the beginning of a spiritual journey. Okay, and also that miracles are coming our way. Hey, oh yes, 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 more of that. Claim it, claim it, claim it. It signifies the end of one phase and the beginning of another, encouraging us to embrace these changes Even if in the first part of these changes we have to go through it alone, beloveds, you can have company on a daily basis and someone right next to you all the time and still be going through some ish alone. Alone. Alone, alone. Like, sincerely and genuinely alone. It is time to breed success because we have the right attitude to do so, beloveds. Oh, and this card wanted to separate itself. So we're going to go into that in just a moment. And this will be the top of this fun little two-dimensional card house that we're about to build for a little bit of storytelling. Utilizing, this is the combination of Work Your Light and Starseed Oracle. And then I will go further with whatever is placed on my heart at the time. We must believe that we can go after our dreams, beloveds. Our actions matter a lot because we will achieve what we aim for. More so, we should not make fun of those who are struggling. I'm going to say that a little louder for the false creed in the back. More so, you should not make fun of those who are struggling. Perhaps it is your responsibility to help them and inspire them to move past the hard times. 12:12 on the timer as I said that. Oh, I'm not absolutely sure if I even have that. Oh, my shirt's wanting to slip up. Okay, I'm going to take a look in these cards for 12:12. Yep, right here. Duality. Within you are shadows of dark and beams of light. The divine is reminding you to embrace the duality that is your individual spark. The spark is being ignited and is ready to illuminate the path ahead. And this number also comes with an affirmation. I fully embrace who I am and allow change where it is needed. I trust the duality within me. Beautiful. I use a little clothes clip to hold these cards together. All right. So, there's so much more to this number, but I just don't really want to get into it. I'm feeling guided to get into these cards a bit more. And so, with 12:12 at the top, we'll just consider this like our little chimney for like when we do our shadow work with that duality, we can just release the smoke. Off the chimney. All right, now let's go into Anna, grandmother of Jesus. Anna. So, Jesus, Joshua 12 was the last, hold on. The last fully Christed being, Joshua 12. Weird. Oh, okay, there it goes. Anna. So, I'm not going to go into too many details off the definition of the card because there are multiple teachings pertaining to our most recent fully Christed brother, and not all of them are accurate. This particular description of the card actually has elements of truth, seeding the light, laying foundations, and divine plan. So let's talk about it. Anna, grandmother of Jesus, was an ancient mystic who dedicated her life to laying the foundations of Christ consciousness to be woven through all of life. She is not widely known, but without her, Christ consciousness would not be rising as it is today. Anna represents the quiet dedication that is sometimes required to live a life of service. She represents the generations that came before that devoted their lives to dreaming a new world into being, while knowing that they would not see the glorious end result. She represents the dutiful soldier, the unconditional mother, and the mystic who can see the threads that, or to see the thread that is woven through all life. Anna teaches us that we all have a part to play in the divine plan. It doesn't have to be on the world stage to be significant. One person's part is not more worthier than another. One person's part may be to mother their children, another may be to gather women in circle. No part is better or worse, more important or less significant. We each have within us a seed of light that we incarnated to share. Anna is gathering us all to remember and surrender to our part of the plan. And there is a work your light activation to this card as well. Beloved Anna, thank you for laying the foundations for the divine plan. May the seeds of light within me be revealed, and may I surrender to my part of the divine plan. All right. So we have the structure coming together. We're building a house, but it's really going to be more of a feeling than a physical dwelling. Okay, let's go. So we'll call this getting the house in order, beloveds. Alright. Clearly I'm never going to wear this again on camera. It's too much of a distraction. Alright, moving along. Going into this combo of Work Your Light and the Starseed Oracle. Let's continue this story as we get the house in order. Yes. All right. What is meant to be heard next? Boundaries. Beloveds. Boundaries. That is most certainly part of getting the house in order. Boundaries. Where do you need to establish better boundaries? We're working on it day by day. All right, let's expand the roof. We're getting there. Oh, well, I mean, we kind of can't do much of anything without the framework. So, what we have to say as we build and get the house in order is the foundation and framework of this house we are building, beloveds. Builders build, teachers teach, and leaders lead. As Mr. D is serving the tea. Oh, I'm sorry. Moving along. It's Sissy's spaceship over here. Have no fear. Light workers and light warriors, the time is so near that the time is now. Yes, let's read about boundaries as we're being called to create clearer boundaries in our lives. This could be with our friends, our family, or work. Say yes when we really mean no leads to resentment, which is the biggest energy drainer ever. At first, it might only be a little bit and not feel like a big deal. But before you know it, your energy field becomes porous and you are left feeling depleted, resentful, or taken advantage of. Saying no and having clear boundaries is actually a spiritual act. The most giving, loving, compassionate people are those with the clearest boundaries. For when they say yes, they are able to give unconditionally. Beloved, over, I would say, the last year, I have been periodically mentioning boundaries that I am setting, including setting boundaries with myself and listeners, friends, of course, all the aforementioned. And I take what I do here very seriously. And so, in order for that respect to be interchangeable, not interchangeable, but reciprocated and returned and revered, we have to make it very clear. Sometimes that requires having to say things multiple times for it to kind of sink in a little bit more. Yes. So, yes means yes, no means no. When you say yes, mean it with your whole heart or not at all. And when you say no, no means no, and it is a full sentence every time we say it. If we're saying yes and we really mean no, we're likely needing something ourselves. When our boundaries are clear, others know where they stand and we're able to give freely. If they're not clear if we're not clear where our boundaries lie, this causes confusion, resentment, and energetic cords to be planted. I needed to say that again. It could be a need for approval. It could be a fear of being seen a certain way or a fear of loss. The best way to gauge our boundaries is to check in with our belly. Yes, my belly is grumbling because I haven't broken fast yet. Thank you so much, Tummy, for letting me know and cluing me in. It's going into the self-eating process, which when we are going through cell regeneration, we actually want that. Just an FYI. Carrying on. The belly is the second brain. And I actually agree with that. I used to jokingly say it was the first brain until I realized, even more so upon remembering and relearning, that it's actually the heart. The heart center is the first brain. And then the gut. And then whatever is going on inside of our skull may be of some relevance, especially for all the involuntary movements and responses to life. I mean, we have to breathe, we have to do all these things, and our up there in the attic is what, controls the involuntary and things of that nature. And I'm being guided to stop there because we're not meant to be going into a biology discussion at this time. especially since it's not my biggest forte here. Tune into that space, an intelligence known as your gut feelings. Tune in when deciding what is okay for you. How does it feel? What is it trying to communicate with you? And with this card, there is also another soul inquiry. Where in your life do you need to establish better boundaries? All right, let's see what's coming in next. Feeling guided to do another shuffle and then a split. All right, we're going to do a split right about here. And we have Earth School out again. Oh my goodness. Earth School. Let's talk about it some more. Life lessons, soul growth, study, and higher learning. Yes. Returning to Earth or otherwise through a contract of sorts, agreeing to be a part of this divine plan, so to speak. It's a great initiation for the soul, and life lessons are the curriculum for which we enroll. These aren't one-time lessons, but themes we choose to circle around, deepening our experience of them as we make our way through the spiral of life. Life lessons aren't only about getting it right, they're also about getting it wrong. Remembering that Earth is a planet of polarity helps with this understanding. Each year the study deepens more and more. If this card comes out while you're going through a difficult time, you're being promoted to remember that your soul came here to grow and learn. Try not to look at difficult times as getting it wrong. Instead, see them as opportunities for soul growth. If you can find a way to grow and soften your heart through the highs and lows, your soul is most definitely growing, which is the whole point. Pulling this card can also mean you're being called to embark on a new area of study or growth. If you can find a way to grow and soften your heart through the highs and lows, your soul is most definitely growing, which is the whole point. After all, this could be through structured learning, university, training, having difficulties in a relationship. You're being reminded that these are opportunities for soul growth. After all, which is where I skipped ahead just a moment ago, relationships are known as the number one way that we grow as souls while we're here on Earth. How are you being called to grow and learn? Let's find out. We're going to go into, oops, these cards wanted to separate themselves from the bottom. So we're going to sit them off to the side. But I'm still being guided to go into the next deck for the moment, for a little bit more structure here to the story, okay? We're going to go into Beyond Lemuria, for a bit more. All right. Oh, well, that took no time at all. Healing. What should we be aware of? Healing. The Lemurians were healers. Oh, yeah. And on that timeline, we also have 4 arms. We have 2 sets of arms. And I remember. And I remember being disappointed that I remembered and was like, well, why can't I have my other set of arms back? They give the best hugs. I know, I remember. It took me a minute, but I remember the best Lemurian hugs ever. Yes. Naturally intuitive and accustomed to navigating energetic based realities. We all have natural healing abilities. How do we become a healer, beloveds? By healing ourselves. And let me tell you, that is not something that you can just fake it to make it. And we can see when you're trying to fake it to make it, all right? Mwah. With love. At least you know we're paying attention. Yes, we are. Observing with grace and care. Just know that. We all have natural healing abilities that are advanced when we deepen our energetic awareness. When we perceive the world beyond the more well-known senses, we start to receive information and wisdom different from that which stems from intellect. Oh my goodness, this is not the stuff you're going to find in a book. Although books are great, especially when you stick to authenticity and what really actually is like your forte. I wouldn't recommend going and spending money on books that are ultimately meaningless to you just to impress somebody else. For some reason, I was meant to say that today, and it definitely does not pertain to me. So, someone needed to hear that, beloveds. Moving along. By tapping into this life force, consciousness, and using this abounding energy alongside focused intention, we realize that anything is possible. Extend the margins of your awareness. Revisit a situation from a broader perspective or higher vibration with a focus on healing. Perhaps the issue is simply an outdated or limiting perception of placement. You have the ability to align to a fresh new timeline inspired by wholeness. And we become healers by what? Not healing others, but healing ourselves and inspiring others to do the same for themselves, beloveds. So we're going to place that right below Grandmother Anna. And we're going to go back into this deck for a bit more to this story of getting our house in order. What more is it that we are meant to hear at this time? What can we grow from? Okay, well, 2 cards wanted to come out this time for the second position. We have the solar plexus chakra sync. And believe me, the ones who know will know. If they ever watch this and they see this, they will understand why I just said sync. The solar plexus has come up already this morning for myself and others, and the discussion of balancing this chakra, beloveds. By balancing this chakra, we are also setting boundaries. Boundaries, especially with ourselves. And interestingly enough, it's going to be placed in that position. The solar plexus chakra is the radiant center of our being. It holds the vibrant spark that brings your passions to life. Enter this space to step away from playing small, unworthiness, the idea that you're taking up space, and insecurity-based competitiveness. Allow yourself to be attuned to the abundance, life force that resides at your center, and be energized, motivated, and fueled with inspiration, bringing forth more of what you wish to birth in the world. As you discover a deep and real sense of self-empowerment, this is authenticity, beloveds. You can confidently lift others in celebration, harmonizing differences, and shifting hierarchical paradigms into collective co-creation. And the second card to come out in this position of what can we grow from, we have the sound of the universe coming out again. This is the second time this card has been out recently, signifying pivotal moments that transcend belief, reminding us of a greater reality and influence us so that life will never be the same again. It symbolizes the sound of the universe. Having our world shaken up even a little can invite a closer glimpse of the great mystery of life. There are myriad ways to speak or to peek behind the veil of the mundane, and perhaps even speak, and I was meant to say that for some reason. Ecstatic dance, spiritual exploration, and creative pursuits are just a few. Aim to imbue this awareness in your everyday existence so that you can avoid the sudden wake-up calls. Listen for the hidden music, harmony, and wonder of your multi-dimensional world. All right. And where should we put our energy? Where should we put our energy at this time? Crystal keys. Aligning with Earth School for the third position. So, Lemurian quartz crystals are special pieces of clear quartz said to have been encoded with great knowledge for the spiritual evolution of the human race. This card is about deciphering wisdom codes. Be inspired to find the wisdom hidden in times when you feel triggered. There is so much information within our raw and intense reactions that when you choose to be present and peel back the layers, great spiritual insight will unveil itself in a way tailored just for you. Wisdom comes through inner paradoxes. Be awed in creative flow, or a state of surrender. These crystals may be powerful keys to your spiritual evolution. Life lessons, soul growth, study, and higher learning. See how all of this is, it's just lining up so interestingly, like the similarities between the cards from the first deck that I pulled from and now the second one. And the cards and the questions and the answers, the prompts and the responses are all lining up. And this is really starting to get at me. You guys, I never wear stuff like this, but I felt inspired to wear red today because it is the primary color that, with the primary color yellow, wait a minute. The solar plexus, give me just a moment. Solar plexus is the yellow. Okay, yes. It is the yellow. So with the combination of the red and the yellow, we get orange. And so there is also significance in the color orange today that also has brought out a bit of a synchronicity. So I'm going to share on the spiritual meaning of the color orange, but we're going to go into the solar plexus a bit more because, again, I mentioned this is where authenticity comes from. And I'm going to share some key points that are not my opinion about the solar plexus chakra. It is our personal power, our identity, our willpower, our confidence, our intuition, and emotional understanding. And all of these aforementioned are like the building blocks of our foundation. And as we expand and grow and remember and relearn, it's like where the orange comes in is like the mortar. So it's like the root and the root chakra and the solar plexus chakra are like the bricks. And the orange is the mortar. In the spectrum, orange is in between the red and the yellow because it takes the two primary colors to create the secondary color, which is orange. But for some reason, and I'm starting to sound like I'm talking in circles or something, so I'm just going to get right to the point. There is significance to this. However, understanding that this energy governs our ability to be confident, assertive, and make decisions from a place of inner wisdom. This is how we set boundaries. And it came out as the second card for the second row. And the first card is boundaries. And healing, which also comes out in the next, involving healing. And healing here as well. This one is straight up all about healing. But all these cards are like becoming like a congealed energy here. Like plasma. I don't know why I was meant to say that, but I was. Okay. Something about inner strength and determination, setting boundaries and asserting ourselves without being aggressive. And we have been divinely guided for quite some time now to lead with more grace and care. Like, it's one thing to be assertive, it's another thing to be too aggressive, beloveds. And I've been seeing it all over the place, even with loved ones, be it online or any other. Let's go into the sacral chakra, which is the orange one. Because with the healing card coming out and that orange being at the very bottom, it's like Source is saying that's where we're beginning. We already touched on the red and why it's relevant. We have the yellow on the table. Now let's talk about the sacral chakra. At the navel, where the perineum is, it is said to be associated with sex organs, kidneys, though this isn't supported by scientific research. It's also associated with the water element. And portrayed as a vibrant orange color. It's often represented by a six-petaled lotus flower. Governed by Parvati, we're not giving too much energy to that. We're just going to move along past that part. The symbol of the sacral chakra is a moon crescent, which represents the relationship between the tides of the water and the phases of the moon. Moving along. Sensuality. I already mentioned the other type of intimacy. Giving and receiving pleasure. Creativity. Unstructured expression. Birthing environments. Things that wax and wane. And the principle of non-permanence. Healthy emotions in the inner child. The divine feminine. And synchronicities. Now let's go into shadow issues. Negative qualities, wounded emotions, secrets, fear of judgment, getting into trouble or being found out, repression, inability to experience emotional or sexual intimacy, nightmares, and not remembering or understanding dreams. There it is. So, I can already see the purpose of us being drawn to the sacral chakra at this time, which is the orange one, is because of some imbalances. Perhaps you've been dealing with a little bit of loneliness. Others of you have found yourself on the other side of healthy isolation. And now it's like you're starting to become a little too detached from reality as we're meant to co-create it. A closed sacral chakra can make you feel detached from your own emotions as well as the emotions of the people around you. You may feel isolated and anxious to be alone and lonely. It's a vicious cycle that can cause loneliness as well as anxiety. Disclaimer alert, disclaimer alert. We're not making any major claims here. We're just telling a story, and I'm simply the messenger, beloveds. All right? Yes. To tell if your sacral chakra is blocked, it is advised closely observing the energies, actions, and traits that are active in your life. When it becomes stagnant and your ability to access the gifts associated with the sacral center become difficult. Its shadow aspects are also active and dominant in your life, which I just shared the shadow aspects. Not all of them, but some. I shared the ones that my heart center drew my eyes to, and only those. How to balance. Reflection is what's really standing out to me the most. During this time of renewal and regeneration, we do a bit of reflecting, and it's intermittent. Like that isolation, I can see where it could be a little too drawn out by where reflection turns into overthinking, and that ego starts to like take over the situation, and then it's no longer even a meditative experience anymore, because you have isolated to the point of detachment, like an unhealthy though detachment. And so reflection, but also meditations. And there are techniques that you can practice, but simply just like, here's what I'm going to tell you to do, and you don't have to listen 5115 because I'm not your real dad, but 5115 is a very important number. So we're going to go into it, and then I'm going to share grounding can be done in so many different ways. You can go into a meditative state even when you're still active. Even when you're still active. Coming across new abilities and talents. Creative self-expression was what I was aiming towards. So even when we are in like creative expression and it's authentic and it's coming from the heart center, that too is a meditative state, a grounding state. And instead of isolating to just like what would you call it, be in a like a stage of avoidance, it's not full isolation, it's partial isolation. And overdoing it, being detached too long, can only create even more distortions and confusion. So, we're actually being guided to engage in more of that artistic, creative self-expression at this time. And in doing so, it allows for more steadiness in our transformation and opportunities for growth, which contribute to that transformation through creativity, personal development, but also this windfall of good fortune coming in for the collective as well. 5335 on the timer, another mirroring number as I look up. Let's talk about it. Indicating we have the power to change our life in it, and we can decide at any time to feel happy. And in doing so, our lifestyle and our mood will swing to joy and harmony. Those good feelings begin from the inside, and no one else can do it for us. All right? So now let's go back into this other deck. For a bit more clarification on these other cards and positions. First, what should we be aware of? What should we be aware of? Don't dim to fit in. How are you dimming your light in order to fit in? And this is going in the row pertaining to Grandmother Anna and healing. So it seems as though you went into some kind of healing mode, but again, this is almost like more clarification that some of the collective is actually spending too much time in that isolation, and the light you emanate is reducing in some kind of way. Perhaps because, to some degree, you've been affected by the realization that you're not for everyone. 5555 on the timer. Clarification that it is time to change that. All right, now let's go back in for what can we grow from, and 2 cards decided to show themselves to add to the boundaries row that we have here. Sisterhood of the Rose and the Great Gathering. So let's go into Sisterhood of the Rose first. Beauty and devotion, priestess, mystic, and teacher. Teachers teach. Sisterhood of the Rose. Sisterhood of the Rose. Feeling guided to actually read from the guidebook on this one, as it is a lineage of priestesses and mystics who devote their lives to serving humanity and seeding light consciousness all over the planet. Now, y'all, I don't really like throwing labels on myself and others, but I will say this much. I resonate. This resonates for me. Okay? Yes, a cross section of ancient lineages. It is the path of devotion and beauty. I've been saying for years that I feel like I'm being led on the path of the beauty way, but still learning what that even means and how I can apply my soul's contracts and assignments as well to expand on that devotion and beauty, seeding light consciousness. The rose symbolize the heart and the sacred geometry of all life. We are being called to notice the beauty around us, particularly in nature, and hear the whispers of Mother Earth. You're being called to spend more time in nature, as all the ancient secrets live there. Mother Earth is constantly whispering, spending time admiring her creations, and you will be rewarded with the insight and the grace. Being called to take a little more time to both notice the beauty that exists in all around us and contribute to the beauty of the world in our own way too. Confirming what I was just saying about I'm also learning as I'm on my own soul's journey with my own assignments. We have collective assignments and then we have our own. We have collective missions and then we have our own. So, this could be through our own creations or in the little things like how we dress, to picking flowers for our home. Or like me, the way it was placed on my heart all the way back in like 2004 or 2005. Um, to believe that just because we already have rose bushes growing does not mean that we can't still accept them as a loving gesture in a bouquet from another. And spend some time sitting with it and admiring their co creation. Their co creation at that time with the divine was to present you with a beautiful bouquet of flowers. They must have known how much you love such and such flowers. And expressing that they were clearly loving you enough to pay attention, they show up with a bouquet of roses or orchids. I wouldn't say orchids because orchids are not something that you typically would get in a bouquet. I mean, maybe, but roses come to mind for me quite often. So, yes, just because you're growing your own roses does not mean that that gesture of a bouquet isn't just as energetically significant, and I can feel that truth rolling off of my hands as I say it. Perhaps some of you can even see the blur of the energy rising. I know I can feel it because I'm standing in my truth, even if it means facing the risk of embarrassment or backlash or energetic attacks. But we're not here promoting fear-based propaganda. Not at all. Every time we devote our time to creating beauty, we harmonize the planet a little more, and the shift in vibration can be felt. Surround yourself with beauty and create beauty wherever you go. All right. And the great gathering, it's all coming together. Intuitive hits and soul thrive. By doing this work, beloveds, our star family is waking up, reawakening to us as well. What we seek is seeking us, is what I just heard. Beautiful. All right, now let's draw this to a close. Now remember, I do have final cards over here off to the side. Where should we put our energy? To go into the third row, pertaining to Earth School, life lessons, soul growth, study, higher learning, and the crystal keys. We have Starkeeper, cosmic ancestors, see the light by staying grounded. Confirmation of what I have been saying. Oh my goodness. We are definitely going to take a closer look at this one. And this apologies. We had some major malfunctions going on there as I was beginning to explain the Starkeeper card and how it was confirming to stay grounded. And that, beloveds, is how we see the light. We're not literally going out there in the fields and like, okay? But to give you a bit more detail, let's take a closer look. And I do apologize for the malfunction. There isn't any other way to resolve it besides tacking on the end of this video. So, be big mad with that small edit. It's not my burden. Alright, moving along. As we are an ancient keeper of the stars, here to anchor and seed our light in our unique way. Likely being incarnated on Earth for some time, dedicated to an era of awakening and bringing about long-awaited shift in the planet's evolution. We're at a tipping point now. The survival of Earth and all its species is coming to a head. The more grounded we remain during this transition period, the more helpful we'll be. The more we tend to the flames of our own heart, the more love will anchor onto this planet. The wisdom of the stars is imprinted in our souls. The more soul fragments we call home, the more this wisdom is seated here. Another great reason to pick a day to wear red. When I wear red, now wearing turquoise has its own experiences. When I wear red, I feel deeply, profoundly connected with ancient roots, ancestors, other versions of myself on other timelines. The roots. However, today in particular, it was placed on my heart to wear it because of the other influence that, combined with red, creates orange. So primary energies coming together to create a secondary. Kind of like what we're doing, co-creating New Earth. Alright, moving along. With a lot of transmuting as well. So it's like, and then with all this transmuting, this is how we end up with like sage green and indigo and periwinkle and all these other hues, humans, other star keepers as well, cosmic ancestors, red, root, ancestors, beloveds. Yes. It's showing a lot of blue and a little bit of that ultraviolet. And all this is telling me is that the blue flame, the blue ray, is part of our ancestry. All right. So you may not only feel drawn to Lemuria and Lemurians, but also other blue flame starseeds, Lyrans even. You may feel drawn to Sirius B. You may feel drawn to the Pegasi constellation even. Along with other neighboring constellations. So we'll just move along from there. I'm not here to give you an astrological report, especially knowing that Akashic records and astrological charts can be tampered with. We don't do that. We don't go there, and we don't offer the opportunity. Shield up, light warriors. We're being called to be in different places in the world to anchor this light, perhaps by taking a trip or living in a certain location. Also, finding yourself experiencing awakening symptoms. The more grounded you remain, the more stable Earth's energy will become and the less reactive humanity will be. We're here for a double mission, to grow as an individual and as part of a larger collective that brings about a shift in frequency. Trust that you can be in the world but not of it, and lead a truly glorious life. Oh, that goes over here. I acknowledge that I am a star keeper. I choose to anchor my light and stay as grounded as possible. All right, now let's draw this to a close with the 3 final cards. Look at that. The priestess is out now. This is the 3rd card related to priestesses. Again, I'm not one to accept labels or throw labels, but I resonate. I resonate. And it's not something that my ego came up with. It is something that was placed on my heart that I was in denial of for a long time. Especially when my passed on grandfather told me I was a Rama. A Taliaferro Rama, to be precise. Moving along. How are we being called to step up and lead? With grace and care is what I heard. Yes, with grace and care. The priestess is a teacher dedicated to service, freedom, and leadership. You don't need to have it all together to lead. In fact, it helps if you don't. No one wants a perfect angel who hasn't made any mistakes. Let your life be your message. Don't underestimate the power of sharing your story. It's by hearing someone else's journey that we feel less alone. We realize that we're actually all in this thing called life together. The difference between a follower and a leader is that a leader has the courage to go first. In stepping out, we shine a light on the path for others to venture forward to. Don't fret too much about trying to work out who are your people. Don't get stuck in age, income, hobbies, or occupations. The best way to discover your people is to look in the mirror. If you feel called to lead, chances are it's because at some point in your life you longed for someone to lead you. Your people are longing for exactly the same thing as you were and are, and might only be one step behind you. Or perhaps they're the one that's just one step ahead. But they're not competing with you. Watch out for those who are 1001 on the new timer, and I was meant to see that. And share it. And this time I am specifically being guided to click on love, reminding us to embrace new beginnings, prioritize self love, and align our intentions with our dreams. Whether we're single, in a relationship, or healing from heartbreak, the number is here to guide and support us. Whoops. A sign of positive change, beloveds. A sign of positive change coming into our lives. It could also mean finding a new partner very soon if you're coupled. If you haven't met your twin flame yet, reassurance they are out there and that you're ready to meet them. Okay, we're just going to go on into the spiritual significance now. Looking inward, cultivating intuition, meditating, journaling, going on peaceful walks. Also trying new spiritual practices to approach our inner wisdom from different angles. Boy, I just went on a loving, graceful tangent about that yesterday or the day before. It was definitely the day before, now that I remember, having a discussion about the cards, what they're even, what is this even about? Why am I reading from these cards? Why am I doing all these things with all these different cards? Teachable moments, insights, not just for you as I take the lead, but also for myself. For self-development, expansion, growth, transcending the false self, the pain body, tempering the ego. That's how we ascend. If the ego is still in command, you're probably feeling a little stuck like Chuck. Just saying. Also, maybe we would benefit from having philosophical discussions with like-minded friends or experimenting with other ways of getting organized alongside others. I'm not saying let's go start a cult or anything ridiculous like that. No, not at all. What I am saying is that 1001 ensures harmony and balance within partnerships of any kind. Okay, so the 0 is actually emphasizing everything as well. It was placed on my heart to mention that. I'm just going to share briefly on that, and then we're going to stop with this angel number. It's like saying, pay extra attention. So, paying extra attention to 1. Let's see. Progress, new beginnings, motivation, and creativity. So the number is clarifying what I was saying about the collective getting more into creative, artistic, creative self-expression. Yes, that part, that part. Also, new romance. new romance, travel, learning new skills and hobbies, getting to know ourselves on a deeper spiritual level. So, whether you're looking for love or not, you're still being guided to continue following your passions. At the very least, make some meaningful connections along the way, like good friends, valuable colleagues, and you may have a chance of running into a whole other level of energy and the exchange of it. On a topic that I would much rather not speak on at this time, we'll just say that it has to do with flames. Anyways, moving along as we draw this to a close. The priestess, indicating that we are actually being called to lead. Okay? Align our life. Align our life. What is not aligned or needs to change? Remember, this is all in the last row of where should we put our energy. That is so self-explanatory, it's not even funny, but we are still going to read a bit from the book. We are cyclic beings in a constant state of change, of evolution, of growth. Change is one of the only certainties of life. When we resist our cyclical nature, we resist life and feel stuck. Many of us have learned to be who the world wants us to be. I'm not even going to go into it, in the length that I've gone into and agreed with, even though it's an extremely tough change, to not be of this world. Yeah. There comes a time when it's harder to hold on to the facade. Identities assigned to us at birth, even sometimes. Like, okay, thanks for the lesson. Moving along. It's time for us to embrace who we truly are. Surrendering to how we have changed and aligning life to that way of being. Stepping into the person we came here to be in full authenticity. Embracing our weirdness and our uniqueness. Perhaps you have outgrown some relationships or circumstances, and it's time to reassess and bring all the parts of your life into alignment so that they are congruent with who you truly are. What in your life is no longer in alignment with who you truly are? Share your voice. Come out of the cave. Persecution and expression. Perhaps by speaking up in a relationship or through writing, speaking, singing, or some other form of creative expression, we're being called to share our voice. We each hold a truth deep within us that longs to be expressed. Sculpted for lifetimes, the voice of our soul is like no other. It carries with it wisdom that can only be gained through soul history and growth. By remembering, tapping into, and expressing this unique tone, we not only heal ourselves, we also heal the planet at large. When we share our voice, we unlock something in the universe and call a missing piece of us home. Our individual voice is the most powerful sound current on the planet. If we have kept our soul's voice silent or held back, chanting or singing could be truly life-changing for you. As we shed the layers of our personality and start letting our unique soul speak through us, we discover that we actually have a very clear message that longs to be shared. The more we speak it, the clearer it gets. I have noticed that my stuttering has decreased quite a bit in the last year. There's never been a better time in history than right now to rise up, speak our truth, and share our soul's voice. If we feel fearful, know that we are not alone and that the world needs our unique tone in order to harmonize. As we rise up and share our song, we make it easier for the next person to do the same. Express yourself. Share your voice. Speak to those who can hear you. And remember, we're not for everyone. And that's okay. So don't dim to fit in. Continue healing, seeding the light, laying foundations as it is all part of the divine plan. Continue setting boundaries. Know thyself with that solar plexus. Transcending false beliefs, transcending the false self, seeing the beauty in all things and seeing all things as sacred, embracing that archetype of the priestess, the mystic, and the teacher. All right? The great gathering, all coming together, intuitive hits and soul tribe. This is just confirming that we do have a soul tribe in alignment with us, a soul family, a star family, and we are coming together. In this experience, some may even call Earth School. Either way, it's contracts for life lessons, soul growth, and higher learning. That's being encoded with great knowledge from the spiritual evolution of this human race. And we are deciphering these wisdom codes, especially inspired when we feel a bit triggered. Star Keepers, continue seeding the light by staying grounded. Take accountability and responsibility of where you're being called to lead. Align with it. Align with what needs to change. And profound creative self-expression is top priority. Thank you so very much for tuning in, beloveds. Now we know what to be aware of, how we can grow from it, and where we should apply our energy at this time with much gratitude and appreciation. I thank you so very much for tuning in. From my heart chakra to yours, brightest of blessings.